So, hello and welcome back to the next episode of the Self-Development with Tactics podcast. And I deeply hope that I'm not doing the same mistakes as the last few episodes, because I actually some kind of tweaked my audio input settings, which wasn't the best idea because I totally fucked up the whole thing and everything got a little too loud. And I always wondered, by the post-production, which I'm always doing or have to do for the podcast itself, so that the audio is a little bit more some kind of nice. Here on YouTube, I think it's not that bad to have it like this because I would have to edit the whole video, which takes up way too much time, and therefore I'm just going with this audio settings here and with this audio quality here, and I think it's totally fine. The problem was, as I said, that the whole audio was way too fucking loud. And so therefore, for all the podcast listeners, I'm very sorry, and I hope that it will be better like this. I kind of turned everything a little bit down, that I'm not going to be too loud in the episode recording itself. And yeah, but maybe I do just, had to tweak something in the post-production settings, but I don't know. But yeah, as you can see, a little bit in the background, we are going ahead with the summaries that we have started yesterday. I think both, yeah. But I actually just really messed it up with the podcast episode of yesterday, with the mentoring podcast episode, because I accidentally uploaded the last episode's audio, which was totally broken, as I was telling in the last episode yesterday. So therefore, for all the people that were listening to this kind of shit, I'm very sorry that you had to, but I'm going to correct it today. I'm quite in a bit in a hurry because I do have to do something for school again, and nearly the whole day long I had to do something for school, and this is actually the first time I'm doing something for my business right now, which is, I think, totally not the thing that I want to have to do, or I want to do my whole the rest of the school year long. But yeah, it's only 3 months left, and then I have 2 months of vacation. I have an internship, so it might be not too much of vacation. But it's totally fine, Most of the time, if I'm just, sitting at home or in the holidays, not having to do anything, I quite feel it's so bad, because I do not have to do anything, and it is so boring, and I do not know what I, should do with my life. This was like before I actually started this kind of journey, and I hope I will get better in this vacations, and I hope I will put out great videos, and maybe in 3 months actually a lot could happen, but I'll see, we see. But let's go on with this book summary. So we're actually going to talk about, let's scroll up a little bit, This is Where to Start by Edward Drews, which is basically a book about leadership and also some kind of mindset book as well, which is totally something I kind of think like, which is also something that I talked about before. You will see quite often, often all the books are just about mindset, which is not bad, totally not bad, but I do quite feel like, sometimes it's getting a little bit too much of the mindset books, but actually getting remembered of the whole stuff you have been learning, or I have been learning my quite whole life long, is actually not that bad. But and I do hope that the fucking audio isn't too loud as well. Maybe I'll just have to see something in the post-production. But where did we stop? I think there. An email allows you to demonstrate your talents and expertise, as well as your intimate understanding of their business, which can be hard to do in person without looking like a deranged stalker. Totally. The thing is, I do not know if they meant it like this, but actually showing what you can, maybe as a designer, in terms of your emails, is fucking important. Because if you're just sending someone an email for an internship or for something like, I don't know, a job interview about, or as a graphic design job, or, whatever you have to do with design, and if you then just, send them a fucking email where everything is so fucking just bad, formatted. Is this even a verb? Is this even a word in English? I don't know. So everything just looks very, very shitty, and I think this isn't the way you should go. So therefore, just keep an eye on these things, on these really small things. Ask yourself, how can I make this person more successful at what they do? And I think this is actually something you should include in your email if you're just really pitching someone for an internship or for a job interview or whatever you're doing. This is actually kind of great, because then you're showing them, okay, I care about your business more than I care about me getting the actual job, and they will just probably be more happy about having someone that is actually passionate about their business or just happy to help their business rather than just quite happy to gain a lot of money or earn a lot of money. But yeah, the dream problem solution. What is their dream and what is a problem they currently have in their business? And how can you position yourself as the solution? Totally great questions, and actually the ones you just have to answer, or you should be the answer to them. And if you are the answer, then you do just have to either market yourself better if you're not just seeing the results, or you just really have to look at your solution and see if it's actually the case that you are providing some kind of the solution to it. Blah, 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 blah. Add a single line to the top of the message that states your intent. This gives context to the rest of the message, and having a single sentence at the top will make the whole meal more digestible. Actually a good idea, and actually a good point, that you actually should just make your email or write your email in a way that everybody understands it. I kind of often feel like I myself write things, especially in German, that nobody fucking understands, and especially when it's handwritten, then you cannot understand it because I'm just writing so awful sometimes. But actually just being sure, okay, everybody understands it, no matter how dumb they are, they will understand it, I think is actually a good point to just, look at or look in every single written piece, or actually also storytelling piece, if it's written, if it's audio, if it's video, if it's a picture. I think it is important because often we see at things, or we look at things like, I think especially pictures, and we just are like, everybody will understand it, everybody will just like it and whatever. And actually, one of the best examples would be if you're actually a content creator on whatever, social media, doesn't have to be social media. But the thing is, your thoughts are your thoughts, and in your thoughts, they are just, this is a process, and all the other people do not have the process. So therefore, you do just have to package your idea in such a way that everybody can understand it. Maybe you're just making it a little bit harder for the people, a little bit more difficult, so that it's actually something like, yeah, wow, I got it, or something. Actually could be great, and I'm sometimes going for that because I quite find it's fun. I do just, most of the time come to the conclusion that nobody understands it, which isn't too bad as well. You just can live with it. It's totally normal. But in general, just make your things and your storytelling and whatever you're doing quite digestible and understandable. Make your offer as low investment as you can. Anticipate objections that might arise and disarm them up front. And give away a tasty tip that will help them right away. I do quite feel about this like, okay, if it is in terms of actually you pitching for a job interview, or you pitching for a job in general, or if it's like you advertising your shit. For me, kind of feels like more the second one. Some kind of the people that are actually having such a great course on the internet about making $5 million a month for everybody, and you can do it in 1 month, or some shit like this. They all just give you something so that you kind of get, they always give you a tasty tip at every beginning of the video, and they say, okay, yeah, go check out my course and whatsoever. And I do quite believe in it as it makes sense that you're selling things, to people, because just getting money for a service or for a product has a quite different feeling than getting it for free. Not mainly in terms of the feeling, but also in terms of how people will react to it and how people will use it. I feel like most of those people who buy certain things are just more enthusiastic or more just strict with the whole program if it's a program, or with the whole book if it's a book. But often I quite feel like, okay, when people get something for free, they they quite don't use it, that much. And they maybe just go through the book one time or just, read the first few pages. And when it's boring, they just, throw it away and whatsoever. And I think this is a problem with, first of all, giving away free stuff. This is the problem that I'm seeing, but I'm seeing as giving away things for money that a lot of people won't be able to just get it. And this as an intent, I do not think that this is the best one. I think, both sides could just be a little bit more improved. I don't know why, or I don't know how right now, but just to maybe talk about it. How to write an email to a prospective mentor. The first line is the line of intent, and I actually zoom it in so that you can actually maybe screenshot it and you have it a little bit bigger. How to write an email to a prospective mentor. Is this actually something like, a maybe mentor or something? I didn't know that. Always great. I've been talking about it in the last episode, not of this summary, but in another episode, about that I'm just really grateful that I'm doing what I'm doing right now, because it just improves myself in so much fucking ways that I can't even count them, or I could count them if I just want to, if I just really want to think about them, but I'm not quite into this right now. But yeah, so the first is the line of intent, the second one is the dream, the third one is the problem, and the fourth one is the solution. The fifth one, the overcome obstacles, and the sixth one is the best. And the seventh one is your name, and the eighth one is your PS and a bonus. And I would highly recommend you to just really write down maybe a quick summary of everything as a PS, because most of the time people will just forget it, as dumb as it might sound, will forget it, after they've just read the whole thing, especially if it's a little bit longer, your email, but also when it's quite short, I would also always just put something in the PS, something like a summary of the whole text, in a very short sentence or maybe 2 sentences, or actually also something like a bonus, as they pointed out there, just something additional to what you were talking about in the email, maybe even just some kind of a code to get something for free or some shit like this. Or maybe subscribe to my newsletter and then get their fucking information. Quite by the way, I often see, actually also yesterday, I've listened to one of Tony Robbins' podcast episodes. He actually has a podcast. They are fucking great, and you should check them out as well. So if you're just really, I'm going through my podcast right now, this single person that might be from Sweden, if you're just listening to this, go check out Gary Vee Audio Experience and Tony Robbins' podcast as well. Rather than just wasting maybe the time with what you're doing right now with me, quite watching me. I think you get way much from Tony Robbins and Gary Vee in much a shorter time and a better quality, as a better product quite. So I would really, really fucking suggest you to check out the other things. You'll be excited once you have written it, but rather than rushing to hit send, I would encourage you to sleep on it. Definitely something that I've quite heard, not that often, but in another context, but I'm now just thinking about it, where I've heard it, and in what context. I think it might have been about writing. I think it was actually in one of the books that I've read. I'm not quite sure, but I think. And it is actually a great advice, because just sleeping a night over it, the next day you will probably just put something in a different way. You will just probably maybe will do something else, in terms of you writing something completely different, because you feel like, what shit did I write here? And, what did I do there? And, there is a mistake. And also just, going through it and seeing if there are any spelling or pronunciation mistakes. Pronunciation? More like spelling mistakes and grammar mistakes. But actually just sleeping a night, on it is actually a great advice. The very next day, take a look at what you have written and read it back as if you were the person you are contacting. Okay? Once you've spent some time touching it up, put it away for another night to sleep on. Okay? and then get feedback on your message from some people around you. Ask 2 or more smart, trustworthy people to read over the email for general feedback, and once incorporated, ask 1 additional person to proofread the final version for mistakes. I've never ever heard someone just, sorry for not giving you the text. I've never ever heard someone actually just putting so much work into a fucking email than this person that, just wrote the book. But actually, the thing is, this also just underlines for me and just points out for me that the medium is actually just really not the thing you should be debating about. A lot of people say, okay, when I'm getting a letter, and also it's me, and I don't know why, because it doesn't make any fucking sense. A lot of people just say, okay, if I'm getting a letter, I'm just more happy than getting an email. Besides the whole fact that you might just see the email maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, but actually for me it's also the same thing. For me, getting a letter from a friend, which I've actually never got, I think. No, I don't think so. Kind of feels completely different than getting an email, and different also in a more positive way. So I quite feel like better when I'm just getting an letter than an email. But it doesn't make any fucking sense, and I don't understand why. The thing is, people might then say, okay, it's the effort you're just putting in to write the letter and going to the post office and just sending it away. But, what about writing an email? You just have to go to your PC, just log yourself in. Maybe you have problems with your password and just have to reset it to only write this fucking email. There could be a lot of factors that could slow the whole process down, And I do still quite don't understand myself for just being like, a letter is better than an email. Because, it's the same shit, even though the information is the same. Maybe it's because it's handwritten. Quite difficult, I think. It's really quite difficult. The big mistakes people make. Spelling and grammatical mistakes, something I always do. I can't fucking spell. I don't know why. It's especially in German, I can't do it. I don't know why. A lot of people will tell you, okay, you just have to read and, whatever language you might be learning. All the people say, yeah, you should be reading, and everybody is about reading and whatsoever. I think reading is great for languages and for learning languages and getting used to languages. But I would also just suggest you to really go through podcasts and or just listen to some things. Not music, but music is a little bit too, you can't understand anything, and for me at least. And also not audiobooks. I quite feel about audiobooks, maybe it's because I don't like them too much, but I do not just really get along with them in terms of actually me not being as fast as the not teacher, but the talker speaking, that I actually can kind of recognize it and process it and whatever, and just really, how should I say, really good progress, just really great understand it in terms of, I don't know why. So no, let's move on. So I would just really suggest you to go through podcasts and motivational speeches and again in general speeches and those things rather than audiobooks, because I think audiobooks are a little bit too texty. I think, the speaking words or the spoken words for me do quite make it a little bit easier to understand them and get along with them and follow them and so on. So I quite feel like, okay, this is a little bit better. Using the word mentor, yeah, I quite feel like this is actually the case, but I do not know why. It quite feels a little bit maybe silly, if you just write someone an email or a letter or whatever you're writing them, if you just put in the title, I want to be your mentee or some shit like this, and you will always be talking about mentor and mentorship and whatever. Maybe it's a little bit too pushy. I don't know. The third one is using words like lol, ha ha ha, or anything else that would suggest this is a text message to your best friend. Who the fuck, to be really honest, who the fuck just writes an email to, a potential customer, to potential, mentor with the words lol and ha 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 ha, unless it is really a person that is compelling to them. So if these people like it, and if these people are more like, I'm your brother than I'm your just mentor, then why not? Writing too much, I think it's the fucked up thing, or the same exact fucked up thing as writing too less. Attaching your resume, using an uncommon font. I don't think that people actually receive an email with the same font as you have written them, because you actually can just go into the settings and write your email in a different font for yourself, because you might just like it more, or you just like, I don't know. But I don't think that the people that will get it actually then just have the same font displayed as you just wrote it. Having sent from my iPad or sent from my iPhone, this is actually something that I quite understand that this author is just speaking about it, because you quite often see it, and it's totally something that's like, you haven't been looking, at it, and you just haven't been just going through the whole email enough, because you just actually didn't recognize that there is sending something at the very end of it that's not that good. For me it feels like, it's a little bit slobby. And the 8th and last one is including anything that might suggest at some point down the line you will be their direct competition in business. It quite sounds so silly, but I think people, and also me, will just accidentally do this stuff, and therefore it's just great to have these negative just examples and just really big mistakes that people seem to make. I will just, so that you could just screenshot it, maybe I'm just going through the whole thing once. Yeah. But yeah. So as soon as you have sent off your first email, begin working on your next. I think that's a great advice, because always or only going for one person and one company and one job and one whatever is never the best advice. Or the best thing you could do. And this is also something that I did. With my internship, I just wrote email to every fucking single design agency that is in, my area. Even though I'm actually just driving with a train to school for about 1 hour, just, one direction. It always depends on which train I'm taking. There are really fast ones and there are just really fucking slow ones. Which really just make a big difference in terms of the time they take. But also just really going for a bigger distance. I'm actually just having an internship at the exact same place that my school is, and therefore I just have to go with train there, which will take, quite a lot of time every single day. And it is a lot of time you are not wasting, because if you're just doing something in the train, it's definitely not wasted time. And I quite feel like the train time is one of the best times I'm having in my day, because this is the time where I'm just really feeling good about me sitting there with my fucking phone and going through Instagram and commenting on every single post that I see that's somehow just related to what I'm doing on social media as well. And the same thing with Twitter, when I do have the time, or if I didn't quite forget it, and then just going through the news, what's going up in the world, and all this stuff, and also reading. Reading is something that I quite only, and I don't know why, reading is one of the things that I only like to do in a train, and feels very great to do in a train. And when I'm sitting at home, I do not really think about it, and I do not really just, I wouldn't do it, even though I do just really have to I really just have to force myself, because, this is marketing still is, next to my bed on my kind of table, and I should actually read it and not let it lay down, even though I have read it once, but that doesn't matter, because I didn't just understand it the first time, first of all, and second of all, I don't just know it anymore. Don't assume just because someone hasn't gotten back to you, it means they are not interested. This is a great point. I do quite feel like they are, because they would have just gotten back to you if they would have been, but it also makes sense that they are not interested. But yeah, a short one or two line follow-up can work in your favor, but also write back as a response to the first message you have sent so that it appears in the same thread of their inbox. Actually, a great thing, and also make sure that your emails aren't too spammy. It might be just the case that your emails will directly go into their junk folder, which is definitely not the thing you're going for. Just make sure that it is a great email. It doesn't seem to be a spam. Do not put any fucking emojis in your fucking how is it called? Subject line? I think, yeah, in the subject line. Don't do this, because I quite feel like, okay, a lot of browsers or a lot of providers or a lot of email providers? I don't actually know. Email providers and whatever they are doing won't just like this. A lot of just will say, okay, no, just, go away. You're going into the junk folder and just go fuck yourself. But yeah. So if they have a blog, leave a comment on their latest post, retweet them, like their latest Facebook post, but be aware of overdoing it. Yeah, so that it's not just seeming like you're stalking them, might be just what he's talking about. What the fucking hell? I finished the book. One last paragraph, which is, do keep persisting or try to argue your way into a position. If you get a no, thank them for taking the time to respond. If they have said no because it's not a good time, ask if they would be okay for you to follow up in 3 or 6 months to see if anything has changed or opened up. Actually a great thing. Yeah, no always be just arguing with the people and just, doing just being shitty to them. If they say no, it's a no, but really just write them back, thank you for your time. Actually something I've never done quite until this year of me sending out a lot of internship pitches. If it's actually called pitches, I don't know. Because I was like, it's nicer. And especially if I'm just having to get to them, someday later, it would be definitely great if they just have a great impression of me, even though they might not know me anymore. But maybe they just accidentally see the email and then they see, okay, this motherfucker didn't write me back. And in general, just being nice to the people, just thanking them, say thank you, say please. And, I'm not being just really, I don't want to be like, these old people that are saying you have to just, I don't know, greet everybody and have to thank everybody and whatsoever. But to just be nice to the people, whatever it means for you, I would say. Saying thank you and just please and such things is something that I believe in, that this is just being kind and being just, how should I say, good to the people. But if it's something different for you, this is always the problem. A lot of people assume that what they think is how it should be, especially when it's in terms of respect or in terms of being nice to people and whatsoever. This is also especially what I think older people might be thinking. I don't know why, but but it makes sense because, if they've learned it in such a way, they're just really, they're really like, okay, this is their way, underlined there. But it isn't, and actually I think it was actually also in the last episode or the episode before, I was talking about quite a story, a little just, tiny story about me and a teacher in my school, and she was like, if I'm talking, nobody has to talk and, whatsoever, and she thought it was very disrespectful. I don't know by now that if it's actually unrespectful or if it's like, okay, she sees it as unrespectful, but it actually isn't. This is always the problem. And I just think that just being nice to the people and being a nice person and just being a good person to other people and appreciating them and, whatsoever, doesn't have anything to do with, I think saying thank you, first of all, saying please, even though I do just have to admit that you sometimes have to do these things because it's our society. I think if some things in our societies are like this. So for example, the whole thank you and pleasing thing, if everybody just thinks that just saying thank you to the people is some kind of just being nice to the people or just being not disrespectful, then I think there's no way around it. If it's the society, you could definitely be like, I give a fuck about it. But I think you understand what I mean. I quite not quite don't know how I should just tell it you that you should, or that you could actually understand it as well. Actually, again, 2 times the whole sound because it's actually loud. My speakers are on, and therefore you might have heard it through the microphone as well. But yeah, this was actually the last episode of this book. It was quite a great book. I haven't been reading about writing emails before, so therefore it's quite great to have just a little insights in these things. But to be really honest, I do just only need these just things that I can talk about something. I think this is just to support me talking about things. I think you have never ever seen, maybe once or twice or 3 times, I've written down the author or the book title in the title of either the podcast or the YouTube video, because I think I've once just been thinking about it because it would make sense and I would maybe get a lot more clicks and whatsoever. But I think it's also or only just something of a supporting thing for me to actually be, so that I keep talking and that I have something to talk about. And yeah, I think I could also just take an article, but I quite feel like, going through books just gives me a little bit more than, I don't know, quite feel like it. But nevertheless, I'm going to record another episode, I think, just directly after this one. But yeah, I hope you have a wonderful day, or you had a wonderful day, and the same thing with the night. And yeah, I wish you the best self-help and self-health, but the best success, health, wealth, and happiness that you can get, and especially the happiness is totally something I wish you from the bottom of my fucking heart. And yeah, do not forget about to think about your legacy and giving back to the people, because this is important. And with that being said, I hopefully see you in the other episode. I'll see you.